anytime, and then we can get started because we'll be at quorum. Chris, I figured we needed to wait until we met quorum before we could begin the meeting. So currently there are 3 of us here, and we need at least one more voting member to come online so that we can move forward with the meeting. Oh, and here's Kyla now. Perfect.
Sorry about that. I am in my car, but I will participate as much as I can.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so we're at quorum, so we're going to get started. So good evening, everyone. This is officially the Elementary School Building Committee 2, focused on the Charles Woods School. And today is October 29th, and it's exactly 6:04, and we're going to go ahead and start our meeting this evening. I am Tiffany Ostrander. I'm the vice chair, and I'll be running the meeting this evening as John Graziano wasn't able to be with us. He's at a soccer game, so go Hillers. Before we begin the agenda that's been publicized online, we need to start with public comment. So if there's anyone here who would like to share a public comment, if you could either unmute yourself and state your name and address. Okay. No one is here for public comment, so we'll continue on with our new business. So at this point, we're going to talk about the approval of the meeting minutes from October 9th, 2024. Is there any discussion about the meeting minutes from October 9th? Good, Mike? All right, if there is no discussion, then I would like a motion to approve the minutes for the October 9th ESBC 2 meeting.
Second.
All right, second by Mike. I put the motion on the table, so we'll have to do a roll call vote. We'll start with Mike.
Yes, sir.
Jaggroot.
Yes.
Kyla.
Yes.
Great. And myself, I'm a yes. So the minutes from 10-9 are approved. Next on the agenda is approval of the invoices. And this month we have 2 invoices. We have one from Vertex for the amount of $56,433.33, and an additional invoice from Perkins Eastman for $480,000 even. So the total of the invoices to approve this evening is $536,433.33. Is there any discussion about the invoices? Any questions? Okay. Then I would put a motion on the table to approve the invoices for the month of September for the amount of $536,433.33.
Second, Madam Chairman.
So we'll do roll call vote. We'll start with you, Mike.
Yes, ma'am.
Jaggroot.
Yes.
Kyla.
Yes.
And also approve. So those invoices will be approved and sent over, and John will sign them for Susan. Next on the new business is the approval of structural peer review, and I will turn that over to Chris.
Thanks, Tiffany. We sent in the package two proposals that we received, one from Susan True, the other for Thornton Tomasetti. These are consultants that are required by code as independent structural peer reviewers. Vertex has worked with both of these consultants for this purpose before, and both had the right scope. So we would recommend awarding to the low bidder. So with that, we would request Madam Chairperson to make a motion to recommend Susan True Engineers to perform the structural peer review for a total value of $10,450, which includes the Vertex markup.
Is there any discussion? All right. So then there's a motion to recommend Susan True Engineers to perform the structural peer review on the Charleswood Elementary School project through the Vertex companies for a total value of $10,450, inclusive of the markup.
Second, Madam Chairman.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Mike?
Yes, ma'am.
John Groot?
Yes.
Isla?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well, although I think Chris joined us now, but Kyla.
Hi, yeah, sorry, I jumped on 5 minutes late.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kyla did that vote, and then myself, I'm also a yes, so that passes through. All right. Next is an update on street improvements and approval.
Yeah, thanks. Perkins is working with their consultant LEC on preparing the notice of intent submission to Concom. Vertex, we're working on scheduling a meeting with the various stakeholders in town, the DEP, their DPW, their engineers, Perkins Eastman, VHB, to go through the current design, make sure there aren't any questions or comments, and then the design team will then be drafting a presentation to share with the neighbors soon. So that's in process. Any questions or anything to add, Dan?
Chris, I would just add on, I believe police and fire will be at that meeting as well, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
We figured you and Susan, Mike Shepard, we're going to ask John Graziano will be there, Elaine Lazarus, and then Kerry Reed and Dave Del Torio, and we'll include Tom and the police.
Great.
Anything to add, Dan?
No.
Right. Any questions or comments on that? We've cleared the planning hurdle. This is really the road, road improvements that are being proposed. So. If there are no questions or comments, we'll move on to the next item, which is the MSBA 60% CD comments that were received. So we submitted back in early October and received last week feedback from the MSBA on that package. We've reviewed it, and Perkins Eastman's reviewed it. The comments, and note that nothing significant was called out. We did want to note, though, that they did have comments around the plumbing documents, which were similar to what our our review had on those documents. So we're working with Perkins Eastman on that. Our responses to their comments are due back to the MSBA on the 5th, which is next Tuesday. Any questions?
Chris, you guys feel like you're in good shape to make that date? No issues?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any
Great.
issues with that. We've started our responses already, as has Perkins Eastman, so. And moving on to miscellaneous project updates. At our last meeting, we discussed an alternate to have a six-sided mock-up being used as a permanent structure on the site, and this was rejected. As a follow-up to that, we wanted to discuss further the airtightness testing requirements and the MSBA's commissioning agent, Thrive, and their recommendation to build a six-sided mock-up for performance testing and airtightness. A simpler two-sided L-shaped mock-up will provide a lot of detailed review for constructability and allow the commissioning agent and the design team to perform some visual inspections of the work and help correct items before starting these on the building. But our position, which is shared by others, is limited testing can be done on the mock-up if the team agrees prior to the building construction. But the kind of blower tests, the air infiltration test, we would recommend using the building for that. So I think there's a request for a motion to recommend that the project pursue a simpler two-sided mock-up and then spend the air tightness performance testing money on the actual building. So we just wanted to clarify that from last time. It was a little open-ended when we first presented it, but we wanted to clarify that. Having this endorsement will help us push back to the MSBA and their consultant.
Yeah, just as a little background, for those of you that may not know, a mock-up is typically done on any construction project, especially of this size. So even when we did the Marathon School Edition, we did a little mock-up to make sure the constructability was there. And we were able to, I believe, water test the window that we installed on that project. I'm not sure what's detailed for this project, but so having a mock-up in general is a necessity. I think it's just, to Chris's point, not to the extent that was suggested by the engineer. So just a little more background on it before to hopefully help you guys make your vote.
Yep. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree. A two-sided mock-up is the industry standard. To expect that the air infiltration and all those items on this little 10 by 10 structure is going to mimic what's happening in the school is outrageously, just doesn't make any sense at all. So I would spend the money on the two-sided mock-up, and then whatever extra money there is, we can do the testing on the real building, which is where we're going to get real results. So if you need a motion, that's the motion that I would make.
Is there any other discussion or question before we move to that motion?
I just have a question, just clarification. So the two-sided, is that a recommendation from Perkins, or yeah, where does that idea come from?
Dan, I'll let you answer that, but Mike is right. That's a pretty standard throughout the construction industry. They'll work on a corner to make sure they capture those transitions. They'll have a window in it typically. So they're trying to capture where all the transitions occur to be able to work out the flashing and the details of it from an constructability and aesthetic side of things from the architects then typically bless it and say, yes, this is approved, and then they can carry that over into the actual buildings. So
Yeah. Yeah, essentially, so the subcontractors, the bricky, the window guy, the air sealing guy, all know what each other is doing, and therefore they know what's going to happen on the big building. And if it doesn't work on the mock-up, it won't work on the building. That's why we want to find it there at the mock-up. So yeah, two-sided is the way to go. And it's what we did at Marathon. It's what they're going to do at Hopkins. It's just the way it's supposed to be done.
the challenge becomes when you take this mock-up and try to put the other two sides and a roof on it to make it a volume that can be then air tested is where it reaches challenges. So.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. So there's a motion to recommend that the project pursue a simpler two-sided mock-up and spend the air tightness performance testing money on the actual building over the mock-up.
Second.
Aye, Madam Chairman.
Okay, so then Mike? Roll
Yes.
call. Yes. Jagroot?
Yes.
And then Chris?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So that is what we'll do, the two-sided mock-up.
Great, appreciate it, thanks. That's really all we had for items for discussion. We're working with Perkins now to do a kind of updated work plan from 90% construction drawings through the bidding, which is early spring. So we'll have more for our next meeting specifics. In that work plan will be the monthly building committee meetings that we're holding now, and there'll be, we're working with Perkins to identify any decisions or discussions that need to happen as we move forward with milestones. There will be approvals for pre-qualifications, which is starting now for subcontractors and things like that. So more to come.
Okay.
All right, great. And Chris, do you have the specific meeting date for the next time we're together? I know you said you're working on a work plan.
No, but I can look it up.
Just thinking about for those who are choosing HCAM viewing and want to know along with us.
Based upon the draft work plan, the next ESBC 2 meeting would occur on Tuesday, November 19th.
Great, thank you. So we are tentatively set to come back together on the 19th, and that is the agenda for tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. So motion to adjourn at 6:21. We'll do a roll call vote. Mike?
Yes, ma'am.
Jagroot?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And me, Tiffany. I am a yes as well. And so our meeting is adjourned at 6:21 on October 29th. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Tiffany.